I have been engaged to marry my fiancée for approximate 4 years, together for over 10 years. We had our ups and downs, probably like most, but it was never due to anything dubious, as far as I'm aware. I have been sensing / feeling / seeing new red flags pop up about 6 months ago when my so started a new job. I had supported her throughout her education prior to this new job, and we were both excited that she would be able to pursue a career with her new credentials. Now that she's been on the job for a few months, she's started making new friends. So the first few red flags were her staying out very late, 3 a.m., or staying out overnight. She states she slept at her sister's house, and not coming home until the morning after. I am one to trust, so I let it go without further investigation. Then, she goes out of state to a beach about 6 hours away with her new friends from work, or so she told me at the time. Apparently, when she was at this beach trip, she met a guy at a bar, and they proceeded to have sex. So 8 weeks ago, my so came home after the trip, and a day later she stated she needed to leave to rethink our engagement and relationship. I am blindsided, obviously, because I've been carrying on like normal, not knowing anything was really going on. At this point I don't know about the cheating. I asked her to stay and offered to go to counseling, but she insisted and left, and was, supposedly, sleeping at her sister's house. She eventually did come back, and stated she wanted to work on things, and also confirmed she would be willing to go to couples counseling. 3 weeks ago, she told me she's pregnant. Again, I'm one to trust, so I assume it's mine, as we've been trying for a while to start a family. I get excited and start making baby plans, buying baby books, corner protectors, etc. However, I had those red flags pop up in my mind, and my thoughts started to spiral. So, I told her I would like to have a paternity test done, to confirm I'm the father. I stated that I trusted her, but I explained it as my own insecurity, and needed to fulfill this request. She was upset that I made the request, and we pushed it aside for a while. I brought up the paternity test again this Friday at home, as we were discussing the baby. She broke down at this time and told me she's been cheating on me, and that she is 100% sure that the father is the other guy. She then told me she made an appointment for termination for the next day. I was shocked, to say the least, and my heart was broken. I didn't freak out, I'm still waiting for that to happen if I'm honest, and told her I would take her to her termination appointment, as it was over an hour away, and didn't want her getting sick or something on the way home. She later tells me that she met this guy on her beach trip when they had sex, and then they met up again, I assume during her other stay at her sister's, but she denies this, and had sex for a second time, what she tells me could be more than twice it. She told me the father told her that he wants nothing to do with the child, and he recommended her to get termination. She's been wanting a baby for a while, so this was difficult for her to hear, I'm sure. He also suggested that she get me to raise it. LOL WTF, I guess they talked about me. Who knows, maybe if I wasn't talking about paternity testing I would have fallen into that. I promptly left our apartment and moved back in with my parents. She is trying to say that she loves me, but I'm devastated and can't see anything being repaired at this point. I am just so upset about the life we had being destroyed, and I lost my companion, her dog, but I am home with it all the time as I WFH, and all the other things that crumble alongside a relationship dying. I guess I'm looking for some advice on what to do next. Or for some insight on how to start feeling the effects of this, because I feel done right now. Edit, thank you for all of the support. Reading these comments is helping me cope with the situation, so I appreciate it. I have moved out about 85% of all of my stuff. Some of the remaining items are in storage and bundled together, so I will have to schedule some time with the ex-fiancée to go through it all, but once that last trip there is done, then I'll be completely moved out. I have everything of significant value out of there. My wife, 36F, cheated once and destroyed our marriage. She helped me pack my stuff and hopes I'll come back. I will keep this post as short as possible, but do feel the need to be thorough, so please read it completely before giving advice. My wife and I married after finishing college at 22, and have 2 daughters, who are 13 and 12. We have a great relationship throughout our 14-year marriage, 16-year relationship, and both love each other. To be completely honest, both February and March were months in which I perhaps neglected her due to work and other stuff. During this duration, she ended up sleeping with one of her coworkers once about a month ago and immediately regretted it. I am also certain that she slept with him only that one time, because I have corroborated it with others and seen other evidence that suggests she is telling the complete truth. She told me about it the next day, and it felt like I had literally been punched in the gut. Either that or someone had quite literally ripped my heart out. At first, I stared at her in complete shock, but proceeded to bash her with every single unspeakable insult afterwards. I never once thought that I would direct such words towards her, and I honestly don't remember half of the things I said. She broke down and apologized multiple times. Before you ask, to me her apologies were very sincere, and she was definitely remorseful of her actions. I could say that in her eyes and her actions since then. I told her about a week after her confession that I will file for divorce, after this whole quarantine thing is finished. She cried but didn't say anything and left for the bathroom. She has asked for my forgiveness, but has said that she understands if I can't. She also said that she is willing to do anything to make our marriage work and fix what she has done. Additionally, she even said that in the case I end up deciding to follow through with the divorce, she would waive any unfair settlement she would get from divorce settlement as she doesn't deserve it. Her belief is that we should split our wealth fairly so I wouldn't be put in a bad situation because of the divorce settlement. This would happen as I am in a much better situation financially than her. Through all of this, I am certain that she is honestly remorseful and would like to fix our marriage, but I feel like I still want to go through with the divorce. Both my parents and her parents have talked to me, and while they condemn her actions, they still encourage us working things out. Then again, I have never been one to listen to advice, and life has turned out pretty good for me so far apart from this stupid incident. My wife has slept on the couch for the last 3 to 4 weeks, and I generally don't talk to her at all apart from discussing things about the girls or about our future. The communication is almost non-existent on my part, even though she has kept trying for weeks now. I still haven't forgiven her, and I have trouble forgiving her. It isn't necessarily an issue of trust, although that has been damaged severely, but rather I feel like I can't get over the act of betrayal itself. I am so conflicted with my emotions even after the past few weeks of finding out, and am no closer to an answer than before. I have contemplated my next act for close to a month and still have no idea on what to do. It is clear to me that she is genuinely apologetic about her actions, and this was truly out of character. She has since then put in a lot more effort into our relationship, even though she knows it could potentially be for a lost cause, as I haven't reciprocated that type of effort whatsoever over the last few weeks. I just don't think I can get over the act of betrayal, and then there is my kids who will ultimately be negatively impacted if I went through with a divorce. I have to confess, sometimes I feel like going through with the divorce just to stick it to her because I know she would be hurt if I went through with it. I know that it sounds cruel and mean, but that is just the type of anger and resentment I have towards her. She has told me that while she is willing to do anything to save the marriage, she will ultimately respect my decision. I honestly don't know what to do, as on one side of the issue I see the anger, resentment, and active betrayal on my wife's part after 14 years of marriage. On the other hand, I see my kids, the love we have had over the 16 years of our relationship, this being something completely out of character, and my wife being genuinely sorry while trying everything and more to fix what she has broken. So here I am resorting to Reddit to figure something I haven't been able to for weeks. Update. I have decided to go through with a divorce after waiting for 2 months. Throughout this time, my wife continued to respect my space and privacy, and honestly did everything right after the incident. Within the past month, I really tried to give us a chance. I began talking to her again, and we got closer than before, where I refused to even speak to her. We even slept in the same bed again, and no, nothing ever happened. Things did progress, but in the end I just couldn't imagine ever being intimate with her again. I just couldn't. I remember her distinctly trying to start something about 2 weeks ago in bed, but I just felt bad and told her to stop. She backed off and just said she understands and that she's sorry. After that, she never tried to initiate anything out of respect, but told me that if I ever wanted to try, that she would be more than willing to and would take it slow if that's what I wanted. When things got a lot better, we became friendly, and I thought there might be a chance, but I just couldn't. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to be able to get over the act of her betraying me. When I told her that I wanted to go through with a divorce, she immediately started tearing up, but told me that she respected my decision if this is what I felt I need to do. She is still willing to go through with the favorable divorce she offered before. I decided that I need to get away from the house, and so I've begun packing up my stuff. She offered to leave at first, but I just felt like I need a bit of a break to figure out stuff for myself. She even helped me pack up, and when everything was packed, tears started streaking down her face. She excused herself and proceeded to break down completely in another room. I'm not going to lie, I broke down as well after truly realizing, perhaps for the first time, that this was the end of my 16-year relationship with the woman whom I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. We hugged each other after, and it felt good to hold her in that way again, probably for the last time. So we are going through with an amicable divorce, and all I can say that I thank you all for your advice. Considering that she did everything right after cheating only that one time, many people might have forgiven her and tried to move on, but I feel like this is something I need to do for me. I wish I could get over it, and for a while I thought there might be a chance. I truly tried in the best way I could, but in the end I realized that it would never be like it once was. I feel like I need to explore what's out there. And no, by that I don't mean just playing the field or even dating. I need to explore the world and figure myself out. Just time for myself. Who knows, maybe I'll even get more skilled at my hobbies and discover new things. I don't know if this is the right decision, but I need to do this for me as it feels right. After my trip, we're going to begin sharing time with the girls even through the divorce process. It's something we both agreed on between ourselves, since we know that we're good parents and both love the girls dearly. My wife said that after our time apart, she hopes that I will want to start something again if I want to. I don't know if that's something I'd want to, but after all of your words and the additional time, the anger has definitely subsided. I still hate what she did, but now I no longer regret the 16 years I spent with her. If anything, I cherish the time that we spent together, and the best thing to come out of it is our two wonderful girls. I don't know what the rest of my life has in store, but I feel nervous and excited to find out. I immediately ghosted my fiancée and called off the wedding when I caught her at hotel with her AP. Jen and I had been friends since we were kids. Our parents were lifelong friends. We grew up together and started dating in our teens. It was like it was almost expected by our families. They had more plans for us than we did. When I was going for my master's, I had to move to another city, and Jen remained in our hometown working on her nursing degree. After a year LDR, we decided to remain friends and not have the pressure of our relationship control us. We both remained best friends and we both dated other people. It was weird because we both always knew this was temporary and we would end up back together at some point. I graduated and stayed in the city I got my master's in and started working in my field. I waited for a transfer back to my hometown, and when I got it I was so happy. Jen was in a long-term relationship and he was a nice fellow, but I always got the feeling he was weary of our friendship. I understood the vibe and stepped back out of respect, although she and I would talk several times a year. My boss and mentor, I will call Paul 44M, was a great guy and we became good friends. He taught me the ropes and one day came down from the ivory tower and wanted to talk. He explained there was an open position in a foreign city for 2 years, and it would be advertised shortly. He explained the position, and even though the money wasn't huge, all expenses such as rent, hotel, and expenses related to travel were covered. Basically, I would be based in Tokyo and have to travel once in a while to other Asian cities for a few days here and there. I thought about it, talked to my friends and parents. Paul said it was a witch position, but would be a great opportunity to prove myself and climb the ladder. I thought, why not? I could save most of my salary and gain valuable experience. Paul said he would speak to the old man and if I wanted it he would recommend me. He explained he himself did something similar years ago and it helped his career. So off I went. The first year was horrible, getting used to the culture and social rules, not only in Japan, but the other countries I would visit for work. One thing that surprised me was how available women were. Everywhere I went they loved foreigners. I got to sample the delights of the Orient. These weren't third world women. Most of them were highly educated. I had many FWBs and clearly told all of them I wasn't interested in long-term or marriage as I only was staying temporarily. I ended up doing 2 more years. Paul would visit several times a year on vacation, or to supervise some work, and I will admit we had some greasy times in a few cities, i.e., Angeles City, Philippines, and a few others. Contract was over, and I went back home. Put a nice down payment on a house just outside the city. After living in a city of 37 million, I needed some space, lol. I was home for a month, and while visiting my parents, Jen was there. She and the other guy had broken up a year ago, and we started talking more seriously even though we always had contact over the years. We started dating again. I held off having sex as much as I wanted because I was afraid really of what would happen. I had developed an addiction of having various partners while in Asia, and was trying to control that desire before Jen and I got serious. I mean, everyone including Jen knew I dated, but on social media there would be infrequent photos of me and different women. My mother called me a 403 master a few times, and well, to be truthful, it kind of stung. Now is when things start to fall apart. Jen and I slept together, and for lack of a better word, she was very surprised. She said I was different and was never like that before. She meant it like I had gained a lot of experience, to put it nicely. She asked me some questions, and I admit I did trickle truth her. I didn't tell her the exact number, because even if it was divided by 3 it was scary. I had no doubt that I was and could be faithful to her. The seed I inadvertently put in her mind that night would create some serious issues later. Now, of course, our families were thrilled we were together. It was always supposed to be this way. We were doing great, and after speaking to her parents, I proposed. She moved in and everything was great. There were some what I thought were some red flags, like asking if I was happy with her. Fast forward to December 2019, wedding was planned June 2020. We all know how 2020 went, don't we? Christmas was great, and close to New Year's we would have the first D-Day. I was sitting down doing some work on the PC, and Jen and her cousin Tammy 32F were looking through some wedding stuff. I have also known Tammy since we were kids, and we were cool. Jen asks if we can talk, and Tammy walks into the living room and sits on the sofa. I went to sit at the table to talk to Jen. She starts by saying for me to not interrupt or freak out, she wants to talk about something. She then explains our difference in the bedroom, and says she believes I wouldn't be satisfied with her, and eventually I would cheat on her, and she didn't want our future children and relationship to be ruined if I stray. So here I was thinking, great, I am about to get dumped. Just as I am thinking things can't get worse, I hear the infomercial guy in my head, but wait, there's more. Jen asks me if I was willing to open the relationship, so she could gain more experience, and it would help her feel less insecure. She states I should not be worried as I am the only man she ever loved, and that's why none of her relationships had ever led to marriage. I did agree with her on that point, as I felt the same. Now, of course, I think this is a joke and she is not serious at all. This really can't be happening, right? Since this was a year and a half ago, I will try my best to recall the main points. She says she will only be with random people and never with someone we know or work with. It won't happen with the same person twice, and no emotional connection. I was like, WTF. When I realized she wasn't joking, I lost my breath. Didn't think it was possible for a heart to skip a beat and jump to the center of my throat. I am not an angry or violent person, but now I am yelling. I am starting to understand why Tammy stuck around close by. I yelled, Tammy, did you put her up to this? Tammy says she is just there to support Jen. Wow, thanks so much. So then Jen says I am free to do as I wish under the same rules, and I said no. I am so pissed at this point, and even writing this now I am raging. I then said I don't want one-night stands. I just want one person. She says who? I looked at Tammy and not in the eyes and said, I want to duck Tammy. Now I get a rise out of Jen, and Tammy wasn't expecting that, and she is a bit red in the face, and now uncomfortable. Jen says no, she is family and someone we both know, and it is gross for me to even suggest it. I am now totally in bizarro world. Where the hell did this come from? We argued back and forth for a bit, and I told her if she does this the relationship is over. I am totally against this and I love her, and we can work through everything together, but not this." I stormed off, grabbed my pillow, and went to the guest room. I could hear them downstairs for a bit, but couldn't hear what they were saying. It would have been a hilarious joke if it didn't last for an hour of conversation. I didn't sleep all night and was a bag of scrap at work the next day. Jen started 2 weeks of night shift that day, so at least we wouldn't be home together for that time, and we could both cool down and revisit this later. Dinner would be in the fridge for me every day with an "I love you" note. She would text frequently, but I kept my answers short. Thursday night of the next week of her night shift, I go to the PC to work over some files, and I notice an email notification on her account, and it's a hotel reservation for a good hotel that's close to my office. I know it well as I go often with coworkers. I am thinking she is supposed to be working, but maybe she wants to apologize and take me for a night out. The next morning I am waiting for her text or call to invite, but only asking me how my day was. Then she says she's so happy she only has to work one more night of the night shift. How does she have one more night and a hotel reservation? I was sick, stressing in my office. Started looking through some dating sites, especially profiles with no pics. I can't find anything. Paul pops in and asks me if I want to go for lunch and sees I am a mess. He asks what's up and I tell him. Paul is hard MGTOW, but has always supported my relationship with Jen. He suggests we go get lunch at hotel restaurant and I scream no, not that place. He didn't know that part. We actually go for lunch and I am sick to my stomach, can't eat. Don't even want to drink. He says I can't work like this and I can take as much leave as I can. Paid and unpaid if needed. I told him I can't be there at my house anymore. I can't see her and a part of me wants to believe it isn't true. I rush home and put as much of my crap in my car as I can and go back to the office. Paul says let's go stake out the hotel and wait for her to check in. I mean, I am no PI or detective, I am more like Inspector Clouseau. I was really resisting this, but I really had to know. So we go set up in the lounge bar and I start pounding them back and waiting, still hoping this wasn't real. Around 6:30 Paul taps me on the shoulder, and there she is at the front desk and not in uniform. I want to strangle her, scream, spit, cry, I don't know. We wait for 10 minutes after she gets in the elevator and Paul and I walk to the front desk. I ask the reception to put me through to Jen blank blank room and it rings. As soon as she answered I just started yelling into the receiver and she sounded confused. Jen, I told you if you did this that we would be over. I am done, wedding off, relationship over, and I hung up and got my butt out of there. Now where to go? I went back to Paul's and now my phone is lighting up. The only person I called was my dad and explained in PG-rated terms what happened, and I need to leave town for a bit. It wasn't a discussion and I feel bad for how I spoke to my old man. Phone didn't stop for 2 days. Everyone under the sun called me and I didn't answer. I didn't know what to do. The only way I could explain how I felt was like walking around underwater. Paul mentioned some financial things I should deal with to protect myself. I wasn't even thinking about that. The house, wedding, loans for the car. We kept separate accounts and one for the wedding and one for house-related bills. I couldn't care less. The next day I emailed Jen and said this would be our last contact, and I was leaving the city for a while, and the wedding and everything else was off. I called my dad back and spoke with him at length, and while he was crushed he understood I needed time and space. He said he still hopes we could work it out. 10 days later I boarded a plane and traveled to Bali. I never answered any of her or anyone's messages or emails. I don't know if she left the hotel that night or stayed. I didn't care. I eventually landed in Bali and climbed into a bottle for the next month and went offline with the exception of my dad and work. Didn't even care if I got fired. I wish I could say I enjoyed myself but was mostly just drunk. I felt a lot of rage and shame and hate about how things went down. I kept in touch with Paul about my leave and after 3 weeks he asked if I could run back to Tokyo to look after some things. We talked about the new global virus and I mentioned coming back to Canada to settle things there as I was hearing rumors of potential lockdowns. I got to Tokyo on March 1st, and it felt good to get back to work even if it was just a little. After hearing lockdowns were coming, Paul mentioned me getting back to Canada, but I said meh. It's only going to be 30 or 60 days. I need some time to plan my next move. 30 to 60 days. I was still in Japan for another year before I got vaccinated. But by this time, I didn't really want to go home. My house was rented out, and I was talking to family but refused any info about Jen. On September 21st, I received news my dad had a heart attack and was doing well, but would need a triple bypass. This surgery is serious, not as serious as it was 40 years ago, but I still want to see him, and just in case. I know when I get home it is going to turn into a crap show, and I really don't want that. Just want to see my folks and thank Paul for all he has done for me, even as selfish as I was. But I know I am going to have to see her, and I have no idea how I am going to feel or think. I am so sorry for the length of this, even still I left a lot out. I cheated on my perfect husband of 5 years. My husband and I have been married for 5 years, together for 9. I messed up in the worst way possible. Allow me to preface this post by stating that my husband is perfect, to me, in every way imaginable. He is kind, sincere, honest, open-minded, intelligent, easygoing, and humorous. He is and always has been a very down-to-earth kind of person. I am attracted to him in every way, and our emotional/verbal/physical relationship has never had any issues. I work in an industry which requires a fair amount of travel, 2/4 weeks per month for about 3 to 4 days per week. Most of my travel involves going to conferences and whatnot with colleagues at work and or in the industry. I often need to have dinner and drinks with these people, as it is part of the job. At an event about 3 months ago, I met this man. Let's call him Hank. From the first moment I met him, I found Hank to be absolutely gorgeous. He was the type of guy who could control a room with his charisma and the way he interacts with others. People were just instantly drawn to him and his personality, myself included. Later on that evening, I was having a drink at the hotel bar by myself before heading up to my room to call it a night. At least I thought. Hank shows up and asks if he can grab a seat next to me. He remembered my name, which was a surprise given how many people he was meeting at once. In any case, Hank and I got to talking, and I ended up having more drinks with him. Flirting ensued, then touching, then me agreeing to let him walk me up to my hotel room. You know what happens then, the cheating. I let him in and that was that. Now is also a good time to state that Hank was unaware of my marriage. I never told him I was married. Never even casually dropped it in our conversation. In fact, when we woke up that next morning, I immediately started bawling, shocked as to what I had done. Hank attempted to console me, and I told him through tears that I was married. All I remember is him saying "oh crap," and looking at me completely shocked. Then I remember the door closing a few minutes later. I told my work I was feeling very ill, and they let me catch an early flight home. When I got home, my husband was just getting home from work. He thought I was surprising him by coming home early. I've done that before, but he saw that something was wrong. I lost it and told him everything. Right then and there. I will never get the image of his eyes out of my head. Such an incredible amount of shock mixed with sadness. He tried to compose himself the best he could, but I noticed the slight shaking in his hands. He didn't say a word, packed an overnight bag and left. He texted me an hour after saying he was staying at his brother's for the night and left it at that. Fast forward 3 months to now. I have asked him if we can seek marriage counseling, and he won't answer me. I have asked him if we can talk about it, and he doesn't want to. He has slept in the spare bedroom since I told him. In fact, he has said maybe 10 things to me in the last 3 months. Things like he took out the garbage or asked me if I was done using the shower. I know my actions were wrong and completely 100% my fault. For the life of me I cannot figure out why I even cheated on him in the first place. I want to save my marriage. I'm desperate. I will do anything to fix this. Our friends and families know what happened. My own parents have told me that if he wants a divorce, then I should honor it. I hope to God it doesn't come to that. Any advice is appreciated. I don't know what else to do. I want to cry every time I see him and smother him with love and kisses and affection. He doesn't display any emotion in front of me, and I just know this is destroying him inside. I will do anything and everything for him and us to be better. I don't want to lose the greatest thing that has ever happened to me him. Update: I need to clarify a few things. To the people accusing me of being some sort of troll or member of the Red Pill, I don't even know what that is, and sending me threatening messages, please stop. Regarding my wedding ring, yes, I wear a ring. When my husband gave it to me, neither of us had much money, so it's just a simple band. Nothing extravagant. I've never wanted or needed anything else. But yes, that is a good question. People in my line of work have money, and I'm the only person around usually without a giant rock on my finger. That could have been it. I don't know and I don't care. I'm not attracted to Hank and haven't been since the incident. Period. I ducked up. I know I did. I'm just trying to get actual advice from other people that might have been on my side of the scenario.